The last semester of university had settled into its rhythm, and with it came the weight of assignments, looming exams, and the ever-present question of what lay beyond graduation. It was the kind of pressure that could easily pull you under, but I refused to let it. Instead, I took a deep breath, grounding myself in the now. The future would unfold in its own time, but life was happening in this moment, and I wasn't about to miss it by worrying too much about what was next. It was a typical Monday morning. The campus alive, with the usual buzz of students rushing to class, coffee cups clutched in hand, backpacks bouncing on their shoulders. I weaved through the crowd, nodding at familiar faces, my headphones playing an upbeat track that matched my mood. Despite the mountain of work ahead, I felt a surge of excitement. There was something about the possibilities that stretched out before me, like the whole world was waiting just beyond the edge of these final few months. I had a routine, but it wasn't the kind that weighed me down. My days felt flexible, with just enough structure to keep things moving, but always room for spontaneity. There was freedom in that, those little pockets of time where I could break away, live a little, breathe a little. After my morning classes, I made my way to the student cafe, where the warm sunlight poured through the large windows, casting golden streaks across the tables. I spotted Emily and Matt already seated near the window. Emily was buried in her notes, her brow furrowed in concentration, while Matt tapped away at his laptop, clearly absorbed in his work. I slid into my usual spot at the table, the iced coffee in my hand, a cool contrast to the warmth of the sun. The familiar chatter of students surrounded us, the clink of mugs and the low hum of conversation filling the air. As I looked at my friends, I couldn't help but feel a sense of calm settle over me. They were so driven, so focused, constantly pushing toward the next deadline, the next goal. I admired that about them, even though it wasn't how I approached things. I wasn't one to get caught up in the stress of it all. Sure, I wanted to finish the semester strong, but more than that, I wanted to enjoy the ride. I didn't see the point in letting the weight of expectations drown out the joy of these moments. Life was happening now, and I was determined to live it fully, even in the midst of assignments and exams. Later that day, with classes behind me, I headed to meet Sebastian for lunch. Things between us had settled into a comfortable rhythm, the kind that didn't need labels or definitions. It felt easy, and that's exactly how I wanted it to be. When I arrived at our usual spot, a small cafe near the park, Sebastian was already there, sipping on his coffee, his phone in hand. He looked up as I approached, that familiar smile spreading across his face. There was a warmth to it, a casual ease that made everything feel right. As we sat together, the conversation flowed effortlessly, the kind of talk that jumps from one topic to the next without missing a beat. We chatted about our classes, our friends, and the weekend ahead. I was already thinking about another surfing trip, the thought of the ocean always pulling me in. It was in these moments, sitting across from Sebastian, that I realized how much I appreciated the lack of pressure between us. We didn't need to define what we were, didn't need to force anything. We were simply enjoying each other's company, letting things unfold naturally. And for me, that was enough. The topic shifted to summer plans, and I felt a familiar spark light up inside me as I talked about my post-graduation trip. I'd been saving for months, and now, with the finish line of school in sight, the world beyond felt closer than ever. Europe, Southeast Asia. I could already feel the thrill of stepping into the unknown, of waking up each day with no plan other than to explore, to experience. Sebastian listened, his usual skepticism showing as he smiled at my lack of a solid itinerary. It was something he didn't quite understand, this need of mine to leap without always knowing where I'd land. But I didn't mind. In fact, I liked that we were different. He had his plans, his structure, but he also appreciated my spontaneity, even if it wasn't his default setting. As the afternoon wore on, I found myself reflecting on how this felt. The last semester, my friendships, my relationship with Sebastian, it all felt like a delicate balance of living in the now while still moving forward. Everyone around me seemed so focused on what was next: careers, relationships, the future. But for me, it was about the journey. I didn't need to rush toward the next chapter. I just wanted to savor where I was. The sun was beginning to set as I walked back across campus, the golden light stretching out across the pathways, casting long shadows. The air was crisp with the promise of the coming evening, and I took in a deep breath, feeling a sense of peace settle over me. I thought about Sebastian, about the way things had been with us. Easy, fluid, without the need to lock anything down. It felt right, the way we were moving through this together, without expectations weighing us down. I wasn't concerned with where things might go or what the future held. For me, it was enough to enjoy these moments, to let life unfold as it would. I wasn't chasing after labels or commitments. Instead, I was focused on living fully, embracing the experiences as they came. As the day melted into twilight, I smiled to myself, feeling the warmth of contentment wrap around me. Life, like love, wasn't about forcing a path or rushing to an end point. It was about the experience, the shared moments, and the freedom to let things evolve naturally. I didn't need to know exactly where I was headed, and that was okay. What mattered was that I was here, living in the moment, and enjoying every step of the journey.